Today we take care of some maintenance under the hood of our Isuzu Trooper. Welcome back to the Auto Obsessive Garage. Chadwick with you again for another installment of Project Pooper Trooper. That is our 1988 Isuzu Trooper. Today guys, we're going to get under the hood and do a lot of basic maintenance stuff, but very important maintenance stuff. We're going to start off with an oil change, take care of that leaky valve cover gasket, going to hit up the spark plugs. Since the wires are new, wouldn't be safe to assume those spark plugs are new. Let's check out what's going on in there. We'll do the air filter and just generally clean it up under there. So a lot of basic maintenance to do. So let's get in the garage and get a little dirty. I love the smell of general maintenance in the afternoon. Let's check out what we're doing today. Looks like an oil change. So the Isuzu Trooper, super straightforward. I am talking about the 2.6 liter that's in my 1988. Capacity may vary based on different engine if you have a different year. But here we go, the basics guys. You just need an oil pan. Got to catch that old oil. 10W30. You're going to need 4.4 quarts, so 5 quarts will do it. A good filter. Wix works for me. We have a 17mm socket. You're going to need that for the oil drain plug. And then a filter removal tool, as this has a regular twist-on filter. That's it. Straightforward. Let's go ahead and knock this job out. You can see our drain plug right there, 17mm, pretty much front and center. Let's go ahead and pull that off and drain this old oil out. Oil filter on the Isuzu Trooper, at least for the 88 with the 2.6, is right up under here. You can see it right here, nice and blue. Really easy to access. I'm going to use my claw tool that I always use to go ahead and remove that. There we go, new oil filter on there. Drain plug back in, time to fill up the oil. Remove the oil cap, put your little funnel in there, and now it's time to add our 10W30. I'm going with Mobil 1 high mileage. 4.4 quarts is what it recommends. So what we're going to do is add this beautiful fresh oil until we reach that amount. And we're done. That'll be it with the oil change. So let's go ahead and top this off. Tighten that right down. And then the next step is going to be resetting that oil change interval maintenance light that's on the dash, that annoying light. I'm kidding. This is an 88 Isuzu Trooper. We don't have any of that garbage. This is a real truck. All right, guys, oil change complete. We are under the Isuzu Trooper's hood today to do some routine maintenance, guys. What we're going to be focused on is the valve cover. See a little leaking going on there. Good idea to get that out of there. And we're going to do spark plugs along with an air filter. So some real basic stuff. But to gain access to that, I want to move this air intake hose and all its accompanying vacuum lines and everything out of here as well, just to give us that accessibility. Real estate is very valuable. So let's go ahead and do that. Mostly you need 10mm, take all the valve cover bolts off, and then just a flathead screwdriver will get most of those hoses off, and some pliers on some of these to remove hose clamps. And that's it. We'll just get this out of the way. We'll have better access to the valve cover. Really good sign. All these hoses are very supple, very flexible, not hard and cracked, and that's a great sign when you're working on an older vehicle. That's our air hose out of the Trooper. Yeah, I'm going to loosen this little throttle body cable bracket right here. There, that'll give us all the room we need. You don't need to actually undo. It's not very hard. You really just have to do this. You guys want to see how to do that. You pull this up and you kind of pull this out. And that's how you take a throttle cable out. Very easy. Might as well do it, we're already done. I'm actually going to put that nut back here where the throttle cable bracket mounts up so we don't misplace it. Honestly, it looks like 3 10mm bolts are all that are holding this valve cover on. A little shaky shake there, and that valve cover is nice and loose. Should come right up at this point. There we go. Valve cover removed from our Isuzu Trooper. Oh yeah, this old gasket is hard as plastic in some parts. Definitely time for a replacement, that's why she was leaking. So obviously we're gonna clean the mating surface. Guys, can I be honest with you? Let me take you in close real quick. When I say I'm not scared of mileage, I freaking mean it. Look at this valve train. Either this thing had new head put on it, or this is the most miraculous, cleanest, 283,000 mile, 2.6 liter Isuzu I-Tech engine I've ever seen in my life. Look at this, guys. I freaking love this truck. All right, well, let's keep it looking like that. Oil changes, regular intervals, keeping those valve cover gaskets swapped out. Wow. To get the spark plugs out, you need to use a 13/16 socket, so a pretty big socket to get those spark plugs out of the Isuzu Trooper. Time to pull the spark plugs on our Isuzu Trooper, 2 towards the front, oriented towards the front, 2 oriented towards the back. We're gonna pull these out. Yeah, plug wires look pretty damn new, and it's almost a safe assumption that the plugs were done too, but since I have 0 service records on this vehicle, it's time to play super safe. So let's go ahead and pull these plugs out and see what we're working with. These are incredibly old plugs. Man, this is why I always play it super safe with older vehicles with no history. Check this out, guys. New plug on the right, old plug on the left, same part number, NGK BPR 5ES11s. This is without a doubt gonna make the truck run a little smoother because these are extremely worn. The point is just completely rounded down to nothing. Man, this is gonna make a big difference. I thought plugs had been done too just because of those new plug wires. Here we go. Let's get the rest of these old plugs out of here. Let's put those new spark plugs in and I'm sure it's gonna make this thing purr. Now let's not forget to attach our plug wires in the right order. 1, 2, 3, 4. Really easy. With the new spark plugs back in their new home, go ahead and put your plug wires back on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty straightforward there. Just make sure they're seated all the way down on the spark plug, and definitely watch yourself around the little heat shield over here on the exhaust manifold because it can be pretty damn sharp and you have to get right next to it. Once you get all that done, you are good to go with the spark. I did end up taking the upper timing belt cover off. You can see our timing belt, which the previous owner did, is still very fresh looking. And you can see behind that cam gear there's no leak, because if the cam seal leaks, it leaks right on that beautiful silver back there, the backing of the timing belt cover. Nothing back there, so that cam seal is not leaking. That's fantastic. And you need to really take off the cover to see that, to access it, to assess if it is leaking. So we're in good shape there. Just wanted to make sure. When doing the valve cover gasket, don't forget this crescent plastic shape that's on the back of the engine there. It fits down in there, kind of goes where the cam connects, and these things get really hard. This one's rock hard. Little RTV is usually good. As far as RTV goes, I haven't really dived on any Isuzu forums or anything, but standard practice for these overhead cam engines is putting a little bit right here where the cam is, because this is the awkward place, hard for the gasket to seal, and then I'll do around this little half moon plastic thing in the back. But do make sure you get this off, and do make sure you clean it up really well before you install a new one. If you leave that on there and do the whole valve cover gasket, this is an invitation to have a leak down the back of your engine block. So make sure you get that when you're doing this job. Here's our new half moon piece to go in the back of the engine here. On the part where it mates to the engine, we're just going to put a very thin layer of ultra gray RTV. You do not need a lot for this. And you're going to press it down. You want to make sure it's absolutely flush with the rest of the mating surface, so you don't have a, should snap right down in there. Beautiful. We've got our Trooper valve cover on the ground here, and this state of affairs is not gonna fly. We need to clean this thing up. So I'm gonna pull that coil off just to make it easier, and then I'm gonna clean this thing up. Pretty clean valve cover here. Obviously I could strip it, paint it, get really crazy on my 283,000 mile, $2,000 Isuzu Trooper show car, but we're just gonna clean it up. This looks much nicer. The other part of the valve cover gasket job is genuinely pulling out these little protectors that go around where the bolts hold the valve cover to the engine block. These are pretty hard and they were stuck in there real well, so you definitely wanna make sure you change those out. Any good valve cover gasket kit should come with 3 of them. There are 3. Definitely swap them out because it's just another place for oil to come through. To get them out, just use a simple hook, put it down in, pry it out. There you go, and just pry it out like so. Now it's time to install our new bolt gaskets, and they actually install, these are the valve cover bolts. You actually slide them on the bolt before installing. So it's a pretty tight fit, but that's what it should look like. And that's going to create that seal. So go ahead and do that to all 3. Time to install our new valve cover gasket. Should just go in there. I don't think you need any RTV on this application. Like I said, we'll be putting it in those locations I showed you on the actual engine itself, but the valve cover itself should rest right in there nicely. That's it, this thing's almost ready to go back on. With our valve cover in place, you'll know you're dead center when all those bolts are poking right through the middle of their holes. We're gonna go ahead and tighten those down at this time. Snugged up greatly. Just, again, check your edges. Make sure everything looks good. Nice and tight, looks good. No more leaks. Time to put our coil back on. That's a really important part of this puzzle, I believe. The coil definitely needs its power. So let's go ahead and do that. While we have the intake hoses off, it's a little more accessible to get to the air filter. It looks like it's just a few clamps. Should be able to loosen that up and we can pop it off and replace that filter. That's what the air filter looks like on the Isuzu Trooper, for 88 at least. It's got some good debris in there, so we'll go ahead and, yeah, we'll replace that, but we'll vacuum out this air box. There's quite a bit of, looks like dirt and leaf debris. Definitely don't want to be breathing that stuff. So let's go ahead and do that this time. All clean. And let's drop in our shiny new air filter. New air filter installed. Let's put the rest of this piping back together. We have to remember to hook up our throttle cable again. That's a big, big deal. Double check all your connection, all your vacuum lines, all your electrical connections. Make sure you put everything back where it belongs. Make sure nothing's gonna interfere with belts, throttle cables, all that fun stuff. And we've got everything hooked up, tightened down, ready to rock and roll. But for some reason, it just doesn't look good enough to me. I say we clean up this underhood area. With the magic of editing,